Hey guys, Rory Cummins here with the two most common mistakes that I see people make often on buying their first short-term rental. This is something that just seems to happen to a lot of people. They fall into this trap, and I just want to talk about this on this video here. Number one is people buy on emotion on their first rental that they buy for themselves, and the second one is they're not treating it like a business. So what do I mean by those things? Buying on emotion is when you start out, you're buying in your price point, right? You start out looking for affordability, and as you start digging in, your overarching goal seems to be, I want to buy a vacation home where I can go with my family and basically be able to stay there, let's say rent-free, right? For a week or two or three, a year, or even more, right? So what happens is as you go through that process, you start running it through the filter of what you want and what's best for you and or your family, and you start making decisions that are not as profitable as they need to be when you're actually running your numbers and everything else, right? So you end up finding something that's perhaps way bigger or way more expensive than you really need to purchase to make a profitable venture, especially when you're starting out. You really don't know yet, the ins and outs of this game. So you end up buying something that is out of your price point, and it's got more bells and whistles maybe on the property than you really need to be profitable, right? So it's almost like your dream home as a vacation home instead of treating it like a profitable venture and making sure that those numbers work. So when you're going through this, you really need to put on your business hat and say, okay, what does my cash on cash return want to be, or what is my return on investment? And you start using that as the base point instead of saying, will this house pay for our vacation every couple weeks out of the year, right? Can we at least break even? I hear that all the time. And I have a lot of friends that have done this exact thing. They've gone out and they buy that first property because it's just perfect for their family, and they want to have some profit, but they want a really cool place to stay a couple times a year with the family. That's great, but if you're using that as the basis of everything, you're not running your numbers correctly. You're not leaving yourself that cash cushion that you need when all is said and done and you need to have a profitable month, right? Because your mortgage is probably going to be higher than it needs to be. The taxes are probably going to be higher than they need to be. You probably bought a lot of stuff for the house that is over and above than it really needs to be. And I'm not saying don't make your Airbnb super nice, right? You want to do these things. The problem is that you can get carried away with it when you've bought on emotion, and then not treating it like a business is basically saying that you didn't run your numbers to the degree that you needed to really make sure that the expenses and the revenue that's going to be generated is going to support you if things get tough, right? If you're buying hoping that you just get a little bit better than break even so that you can stay for free a couple times a year with your family somewhere, you're going to take a bath, when the times get tough, if you don't have enough of a cash cushion on that profit. Another thing that happens is because you're using emotion into this investment, you might buy things for that property, like a super nice couch that you really like, and then you're going to get very emotional when that guest eventually breaks something or spills the wine on the couch or whatever happens, right? You're like, oh yeah, I don't know if I want to be in this game. Because again, you're using it as the filter of, this is my house, this is my vacation house, this is what I've always wanted, not I'm buying this house as an investment to get cash flow so I can build an investment portfolio. So it's a completely different mindset. And I see people making this mistake a lot because they've overpaid and then they get attached to the house. They say, oh, I don't want to have 10 people in the house, or I don't want to allow, kids or pets or whatever into the house because they're going to damage stuff. And all of a sudden they have all this emotional attachment. Well, it's a business. It needs to be treated like a business. This is how you stay in the game. This is how you're profitable, instead of just, having a vacation home that you and your family can enjoy a couple of weeks of the year. So I just want to drive this home because I see a lot of people getting into this game and then they get out of it, or they get into this game and they struggle because they're using that as a mindset going in. So please avoid these common mistakes going into it. Don't buy on emotion. Treat it like a business. Know your numbers. Make sure you got a good cash cushion. Don't overpay on a property. You actually don't need expensive properties to be successful. Some of the best properties that we actually have in our portfolio, we bought for $200,000 or $300,000. So stick with me. I'll be putting out more videos like this, and I'll hope to see you soon.